Now for right versus left, we've got my old mucker, Stephen Pound, former Labour MP and wannabe Tory. Is that right, Stephen? And
if you repeat that, I'll shoot you.
A journalist, Emma Woolf. Welcome back to the show, Emma. Budget this week.
Yeah.
Raised a few eyebrows. Good news about the national insurance cut, but should it be cut altogether? Emma?
National insurance, yes, it should be scrapped. It's basically, what is it? It's a tax on employers. It's a sort of double taxation. It's a stealthy tax. It's a tax where you think, right, I've paid my income tax. Oh, and then you've got to pay all this. It's a tax which disproportionately affects the poor. Let's be real about this. It was set up in 1911 by, the Poor Commission. It was for the relief, it was for the alleviation of economic and social hardship for the poor. I actually think if you introduced a tax these days that was like a voluntary contribution towards a proper health and social care system, people might pay into that. Yeah. But what is national insurance? People don't even understand what it is. I think it all just goes into one big pot.
It probably does. Stephen, 1911, you was around then when this was introduced. Is it time for it to be scrapped?
Yeah, no. I mean, look, the first thing is the government love national insurance. Let me just tell you why they love it. Because they don't have to do anything. The employers have to do it. The employers have to collect it. The employers have to send it in. So from the government's point of view, it is bunts. It is absolutely wonderful. But look, the first question you've got to ask, if not national insurance, where do we get the money from? Yeah. Now, we could increase taxation. I can understand the simplicity of that. Yeah. But politically, I can imagine it'd be quite difficult. But look, the idea of national insurance, I think, is fundamentally, it's a good idea that, we are all members of this nation and this is our insurance. It's supposed to pay principally for health and pensions, which is why when Lloyd George and following on from Campbell Bannerman brought it in 1911, it was actually so they could introduce the Pensions Act. It may have been for the alleviation of the poor, but it was the first time we actually had state pensions, and that's where it came from. I think we need to actually have another look at it, but you find an answer as to where we're going to get the money from instead of that, and you're going to find yourself in a fairly tricky position.
It's a fair point, Emma.
It is, but I actually think the inland revenue, you say the employers have to collect it. I actually think that the inland revenue are wasting billions and millions of pounds, probably not billions, millions of pounds on having to manage the whole system. I think, look, let's be transparent. We've got such a complicated tax system. Yeah. Most people don't understand it. And I think that national insurance is one of those taxes that are not fair. They're really not fair because, if you're a wealthy employee, you don't notice it. If you're just a regular PAYE, everybody on PAYE has to pay this. And I just think that actually, let's be transparent, let's simplify the tax code, and let's be clear about where the money's going from and where it's going into, what it's going into.
Well, that's something very important, something very symbolic. I mean, I'm older than pretty much everybody, but when I started work when I was 15, 16 years old, we had a stamp. We actually had a booklet, and at the end of every week, your boss would actually put that stamp in your booklet. It was a national insurance stamp, and you actually felt, it was like an investment. You actually felt that you had some stake in what was going on. Now, that was very, very symbolically important. Now, we got rid of that, and I think to a certain extent it is now confused. I don't know, Emma, whether you believe in this sort of flat tax idea that they tried in Estonia and a few other places, where it doesn't matter what you earn, the level of taxation.
I was going to come on to that, Stephen, because we see the threshold is now, I think it's £12,500. That's raised from about £6,000 from 14 years ago. Yeah. Would it be fair, Emma, if everybody pay a flat rate of tax, say 10-15%?
No, I think if you're earning more, you pay more, and I think that's the way it's always been in this
the case
country.
Anyway.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that we understand that the wealthy can shoulder more of the burden. Which is why it's a good thing that we're scrapping all the non-dom loopholes and things like that.
Yeah, okay.
That's a really positive
other
move.
good Labour policies. But look, I mean,
how many times have you guys spent that non-dom £3 billion? How many times?
It's paid for everything.
It's the magic money tree, isn't it?
It's paid for the education, it's paid for defence.
Well, come on,
it has.
It's like the Liberals.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Do you remember the longest P in history when the Liberals wanted to put 1p on income tax? They're going to pay for everything out of that. Look, here's the interesting thing. If you didn't,
it's the only policy you've got at the moment, isn't it?
How long have you got? Look, if nobody paid income tax, nobody paid national insurance, you'll still pay tax because every time we buy anything in the shop, we pay tax. Yeah. We pay VAT, so we're being triple taxed.
We are.
Yeah. So, I mean, the idea, I think you're quite right to talk about simplification. I think the UK tax guidance is what, 2,800 pages? And God
exactly.
knows,
I don't think Jeremy Hunt understands it. I don't think, Labour certainly don't understand it. Look, I think
that's a fairly low bar.
My point here is that we want to encourage employment. We've got an entire country where a lot of people are sitting on benefits. Yeah, okay. We want to encourage employment. We've got to get the country moving. We've got to invest. When you have a tax on employment in this way, because it's a tax on employers, they have to pay it.
Let's talk about tax on employers. Let's talk about the VAT threshold, which went up from 85 to 90,000. I would have liked to seen that be a lot higher. I know small businesses, independent traders back in Ashfield who are just, they want to expand, but they need that encouragement.
Well, the thing about VAT is it's a choice. You don't have to buy a packet of cigarettes. You don't have to pay a huge amount. But look, I mean, I do some work for a local community transport company, and as soon as they brought in the London living wage, that's had a huge hit on us. Now, it's very easy for the government to say we're going to introduce a national or a London living wage, but who actually has to pay it? But the employers. Now, I appreciate.
Well, that was Labour policy, though,
yeah. Indeed it was, and it's the idea of a level playing field is a very good one. But you can't just concentrate on the one thing, which is why I hate to say, but I'm kind of edging towards your argument of having a single wraparound taxation system. It would be fiendishly difficult to enforce.
It would, but in the long term, I think it would simplify things. You're earning this, you pay this. You're earning that, you pay that.
In the long term, we're all dead.
Well, that's the only two certain things, death and taxes.
So overall, did you benefit from that at all, Stephen?
Well, no, I didn't. And mostly because I'm a pensioner, I don't pay
You don't look that old, to be honest.
No, I look older. But look, Lee, there's one actually very, very serious thing that was missing from that budget. Yes, I didn't see anything about defence expenditure. We've never known a more dangerous time in the world. And where was the money for a defence? That was what was missing. And I think a lot of people waking up this morning saying, well, hang on a second, where's the beef? What's going on here? We've got this sort of headline grabbing, but it's not even a rabbit out of the hat.
Emma, you're a mother. You've got a small child.
Yeah, and I'm a single mother, so I should, in theory, I haven't looked into it, I should, in theory, benefit from this thing about raising the income on the single income household. So that's a good thing. But I'm actually worried. Okay, that budget was wildly underwhelming to me. Really? That's what you've got that's what you've got at a time when we're in crisis and we are heading into an election. I'm really sorry. That budget was a nothing. People up and down the country are saying, how does this help me? Yeah, a 2p cut in national insurance. That was pretty much it. No rabbit out of the hat, nothing. The country, well, no, people are not feeling it. People are not going to feel that they massively benefit from this. I think that Jeremy Hunt needed to do something bolder. If anything is going to shift before the next
Stephen, we had Labour wittering on in the chamber yesterday.
Wittering on? Sophisticated debate is the word you're looking for.
Wittering on. What would they have done differently? What's their plan? What's their policies?
Well, I spoke to James Murray, Shadow Secretary of the Treasury, this morning, and he was saying all this great stuff. And I'm not, I know I attack Labour, but I'm open to ideas because I think the Conservatives, after 14 years, are kind of running out of ideas. And what James Murray, he says all the good stuff, but they're still not putting any meat on the bones. We still don't have Labour policies. He's still talking airily about businesses up and down the country, talking vaguely about business rates, talking vaguely about investing in the country. But they're not really, they still keep saying, we need to see what the finances are, we need to see what the situation is. It'll be in the manifesto. Well, we're coming probably within months now of an election.
Well, it'll be November, won't it? Come on.
Yeah, okay. But still, that's still 6 months. Let's have some detail.
But just one single plan, Stephen. What have they got to offer the public? What have they got?
We'd scrap Miranda. We'd actually start processing immigration.
Here we go.
But that's a negative. That's not a positive. That's a policy.
The money was £170,000 per person. We're going to ship out.
Okay.
And also
so scrapping Miranda and doing what?
All year.
And doing what about migration?
I tell you what we do
all the time. Just one moment, Steve. Calm down, Steve. Watch your blood pressure. All we hear all the time is smash the gangs.
Yes, smash the gangs.
How do we do that, Stephen?
Cracking down on the people smugglers. Starmer's never explained how.
What I'm talking about is doing what we used to do: process all those asylum cases in northern France. And don't forget, a lot of those people who come in are entitled to be here.
We already have a backlog in this country.
I know.
Right, guys, we're going to have to calm it down.